We are back on the bottom line. I'm here with today's inspiring guest, Susan Drayton, a visual artist, author, speaker, and creator of Susan's Adventure Path. What's your canvas? It is such a pleasure to have you here today. I'm excited for this conversation and what you can really bring to the table. So in this segment, I want us to dive into something that is it really challenges the way that people think and the way that they deal with their self-doubt. The problem I see a lot of people facing, especially in business, is that self-doubt. Whether it be really, it expands much further than just business. It could be, being a parent, being a spouse, being a coach, doesn't really matter what it is, but self-doubt seems to be something that plagues so many of us. And this is something that hits home for me. Pursuing the career that I have, it definitely has played a role in my life, that self-doubt. So I want to dive right in, and it is such a pleasure having you here. So let's get to something that's really important. What helps you silence that inner critic and finally believe in your own gifts?
For me, it was in the moment of that doubt where it feels very empty. You're almost like a hostage. At least I can speak for myself. I felt like a hostage that I couldn't see my way out of the doubt because not all of myself was curated to the full potential, only certain parts of it. And I had to really do a review as to what has increasingly shined and that I do so well, and how can I trust that that won't disappear while I'm zoning in on other parts of me that still needed to grow, not just mentally, but emotionally, and the skill sets of what I needed to accomplish the next level to have it very well secured. And a lot of it was me having to be vulnerable with the self doubt, finding out where is it coming from, you know, and not only where is it coming from, but what is the repeated pattern that takes me right back to that self doubt. So I had to really learn to detach from a lot of those emotions, that I'm not good enough, that I'm not this and I'm not that. And I had to approach it where, am I going to make a better choice with my career and the hustle of it being more peaceful or being more stressful? So I then had to sit with it and reconfigure what are my new steps that I'm going to be taking, where I'm doing it different and I'm going to see it and feel it and just be grateful that I can see it. I acknowledged it. I sat with it and I looked at it from a different perspective just to try different techniques of what I needed to do for my skills, for me not portraying as the fake person that when you first start in your career, you feel like you're doing the Charlie Brown dance where, okay, I know where I'm supposed to be going. I know what I need to do, and I can do parts of it, but yet there's this old version of me. So, how do I balance? And I think with the balance is about coming to terms with the old version of you is leaving, and it is okay to transform into the new identity that you have so invested in, which is the self, to take you to that next level of a whole new dynamic way of moving, producing, and being. It comes into a state of peace and grace.
I really like the way that you put that, and I've got to pull out some of the golden gems that you kind of had in there.
Okay,
Serious
great.
wisdom is found there, and there's a lot of things I can connect with. And I want to start with kind of something you brought up, and that's finding that gift, finding that thing that you're good at, right? I believe everyone was born with some kind of gift. Some people it's baking bread, some people singing, some people it's art, others it's talking. Find your gift and don't worry so much about being the expert or the master of everything. Master and become the expert of that one thing. And it helps eliminate that self doubt because it gives you an anchor to believe in. Believe in your abilities to do that thing. And for me, it helped me so, so much throughout my career to understand what my gift was, what I believe I was born to do. Right. And
Hmm.
at the same time, when you have that anchor, you have that point where you feel strong, powerful, and confident, it can help eliminate that self-doubt in trying new things because you know that if you can master this thing, you could learn to be great at other things as well. But that does lead me to another question. And I see this a lot. It's one thing for us to know or to think or to hear all these ways to eliminate that self-doubt, but why do you think so many people stay small when they're meant to shine?
I think a lot of it is they're not flowing. So I'm going to use myself as an example. I can't tell you how many rejections I had with my artwork and with my writing before I published the books. And the one thing that helped me when I had the mentor with my art skills in being a painter, she always made it a point to have the audience critique my artwork. And what I loved about that, I took the time to at first be a little bit like, you got to be kidding me. You know what I mean? Then not everybody's going to like what I have to create. It's not going to resonate with everybody, and you feel tense at that moment. But then I allowed myself to be curious because something inside of me switched and said, this is perfect in a sense, because they're going to give me feedback. Whether I like it or not is irrelevant. And that's where I had to detach, because the feedback that I got was actually very helpful. And I used it to my advantage. And the more we kept on doing that, it was like I was getting free advice, free of everything of charge, that instead of transmitting it to such a negative place, like, oh, here we go, they're gonna knock me down again. I just looked at it as, okay, they see it in a different way, but that doesn't mean it's wrong, doesn't mean it's right. Where can I find the silver lining and take those tools and then bring it back and have it intertwined to the next level? I think where we get lost and why people stay in the comfort zone is because when you're getting ready to go the next phase, it's requiring more of you. And you are still like, okay, I know this is happening. I know this has changed for the better, this and that. But why do I still feel a little bit of that doubtness of something? I think because we're so hung up on the expectation instead of the ebb and the flow, and let it just reveal the way it needs to. And trusting the more of yourself, that what is meant to be, it already is. It just needs to blossom. It needs
Hmm.
that space to just blossom, and you just keep on going inward. And I don't want to use the word perfection because I feel that's a false narrative, in the sense of um, it's the end of learning, it's the end of expansion, but it isn't. It's not about that. It's about evolving more and differently, because your maturity level is at a different level and you're going to look at it differently. And as you do so, you're not always taking a lot of extra steps. It's more of, okay, I see how I can do this in a lesser time, but more effectively with quality.
I think that actually kind of summarizes a few of the major reasons, really. And if I had to kind of recap some of those points from my perspective, it sounds like one of the biggest reasons why people stay small or choose to hide themselves when they're meant to shine is fear. It's all based in fear. You know, we're
Mm-hmm.
afraid of what people think. We're afraid of judgment of
Mm-hmm.
others, when in reality, other people's opinions don't really matter. But at the same time, those opinions can either build you up or break you down if you let them. Like you talked about, other people's opinions, the feedback you'd get sometimes was beautiful. It would build you up. You'd feel confident. You'd feel
Mm-hmm.
renewed, refreshed, revitalized, and able to move forward. And I find that very, very important. But you also mentioned something that's also very critical and should very much be outlined here. And everyone watching really should grab a note and pad for this, because growth does not come from comfort zones. If you're
Yeah.
comfortable, you're not growing. Our brains are wired for survival, not thrival.
Mm-hmm.
So to be uncomfortable is to grow. That's something that's overlooked. It's too easy to fall in that routine of be small,
But
be
I
you, and it prevents us from shining.
but I also think in order for us to evolve, I think we need to have that inner child mindset of curiosity, that free flow of curiosity, wondering what would it be like, and not looking at it as, oh my God, this is another task that's
Yep.
going to be
I
very
couldn't agree more. I'm gonna have to jump in right there because we
yes.
need to get back to this conversation in the next segment. Don't go anywhere. Grab a pen and pad, like I said before, refill your coffee, do some stretches, whatever it is you got to do. We'll be right back on the bottom line.